You'd think it's about writing good songs, like that's the whole thing. So you write, and you get better, and you play for people, and they like it, but nothing really happens. So you go, okay, I guess more people need to hear it. So you decide to post it online. But you notice everyone else is doing the same thing, like all the time, everywhere. So it's not about being good, it's about trying to be seen. You imagine yourself lighting a signal flare in a forest that's on fire. But you make an Instagram and you build an aesthetic. You wear the right clothes and you get a drummer, but not just any drummer, one that fits the look, even if they weren't exactly the best fit. But that'll probably sort itself out later. You keep it up every day across every platform. And at some point, you realize you haven't written a song in a while. And you're not really selling music anymore. You're selling something around it, like a vibe, an identity, or something that people would want to be a part of, which feels uncomfortable, but you don't really see any other way. So you try to book a venue, and they ask how many followers you have. And you find out it actually matters that more people follow you than you follow. So you pay $50 for some service that somehow gives you 1,000 followers from Bangkok. Number go up, which feels like progress. But you also know that you don't have that many fans. In fact, you actually have no idea how many fans you do have. And you start to wonder, can you actually live up to this self created hype? You get a job, and you think that you just have to work hard. You show up early, you stay focused, and you try to do everything right. And for a while, that feels like enough. But then you start noticing these numbers, these cartons per hour, units processed, some percentage that apparently decides who you are. And some days are really easy and it's high. And some days are impossible, so it drops. You get pulled into an office and asked about your low numbers. And you point out what you're working with, which feels relevant but doesn't seem to matter. So you start watching the number and you try to move a little faster, maybe take a shortcut, figure out what makes it go up. And when it's high, you get praised, but it doesn't really feel real. And when it's low, someone wants to talk to you, which makes you feel like you've done something wrong. You try to explain and you point to the situation. And they nod, but nothing changes. And one day you're talking to your manager right before your shift. And you forget to scan your badge. But you remember a minute later and you go clock in. It feels like nothing. But then halfway through the day, you get pulled aside and you get talked to about reliability, like for a while. And you're sitting there like, I mean, you know I was here because you were there too. But on paper, I guess I wasn't, which is confusing. Apparently, you're 60 seconds shy of being considered reliable. So you stop trying to prove that you can do the job well, and instead you try to make it look like you're doing the job well. You think about asking for a raise, but your numbers aren't always high, and you did clock in late a few times, so maybe later. You're just trying to socialize, But one time you made a joke and it cost you a friendship, which before that you didn't even know that was possible. You didn't mean it like that, but that doesn't really help. So you stop telling those kinds of jokes. Maybe you stop telling jokes altogether. You try thinking more before you speak, until you're mostly just thinking. I mean, you want to be careful, measured, and normal. You don't want to say something wrong, which is tricky because you're not totally sure what counts as wrong anymore. So you hold back. You don't want to share opinions you're unsure of, which, when you think about it, is most of them. So you just stop sharing those too. And you get pretty good at conversations that don't go anywhere. A lot of, I know, right? And that's crazy. Which, to be fair, covers most situations. And now you're just easier to be around, while feeling hardly there. And it all keeps making perfect sense, which is maybe why it's so strange that it just doesn't feel right.